All right, okay. So, Ford B-Max, EcoBoost engine. Finally removed the sump. Took me a very long time. Exhaust bolt over here. I've had to grind away. Now if you look up in there, that is blocked full of wet belt. And your wet belt, you can actually see it's up there. I don't know if you can see in the video or not, but it's all starting to perish and crack. So definitely time for a that's really quite blocked. Can't actually see through it. Should be able to see through it. You can see that it's absolutely jam-packed. Lovely jubbly. Lovely jubbly. Okay, so following on from the video, we are in the middle of doing a wet belt. Now, to get to this point, I'm going to run you through things you need to take off first. So, where do we start with this? Right, exhaust heat shield, which would usually sit over the cap, which is fitted here. Looks like that. Be cautious just to make sure you got all the bolts out. Don't force nothing. After that, you need to take off the cap itself, which is here. 4 bolts. Flexi pipe underneath. Those two at the back there will actually be probably the harder ones. Unplug your lambda sensors, and then once that's off, you need to take off your air pipes. There's a throttle body which sits here, which goes onto a housing, and the housing goes into this rubber pipe here. Pull all those off. So here's a list of the parts. So what have we got? Take out your driver's side headlight as well. Dead easy to do, it'll give you loads of room. Right, so air pipe. Take off the intercooler pipe, which I've hidden because that's just what I do. Take off your auxiliary belt, tensioner. Don't take off the bottom crankshaft pulley. Remove your alternator, your top cover, your injectors first, water pump. Basically, you want to strip it down so that it looks something like this. Okay. At this point, with the crank pulley still on, there's a, let me just grab a light. You see at the top of the pulley, this pulley here, at the top of the pulley right there is a little hole, and behind that in the housing is a hole in which a pin goes through. So that is TDC, but in order to make sure that you're right in the on the camshaft, sorry, what you should get is you've got 2 square lobes in the cams. I've got the timing tools on, so you won't be able to see, but what you've got is, I'll use my special pointer, is the square notches in the cams. Now when these are in the right place, this is the timing tool, but when these are in the right place, on the top of them here, so just in there, are 2 QR codes. That means you've got them in the right place. Then, before you go any further, pop your timing tool on, and when you put the timing tool on, put these in. They come with a kit, but leave them loose. Get them to meet up so they're close, but leave them loose. And then adjust these up, and then what that'll do is that'll bring the timing tool across here to sit flat against the cam. Then tighten these down, not too tight, you don't need to go mad, but on both camshafts. Okay, now the timing tool kit will have the pieces in that I've just shown you. So it'll have a slot, so have the slot for the bolts, and you've got the 2 kits there. This, you can take the starter motor off and lock the flywheel in order to undo the crankshaft pulley bolt, because that's ridiculously tight, but we'll go into that. You then have your cam locking. These are like sort of extras that you do. You don't have to, but it's better to. You put those in at the end, but I'm going to show you that. This is your crankshaft locking pin. That's pretty important. For now, that's it. Until you've got to that stage, you know, this is where we're at basically. So also, when you pull these out, what I do is I put an I on one and an E on the other. So that's inlet and exhaust. So this camshaft over here is your inlet system. So this is your intake manifold. And this camshaft runs your exhaust side. So you can know which side the exhaust side is because it either has the turbo or the exhaust manifold on it. So I put an I and an E, and then that way they'll go back in the same way. Whether it matters or not, we don't know. But we like to side on the edge of caution. When you undo this is your fuel pump. So when you unbolt that, which is here, I've just left the pipe on it and left it loose. When you undo that, the pipe off it, just be cautious. Maybe put a bit of rag or a tissue underneath because some fuel is going to come out. Other than that, you basically just need to expose everything, because the next step from here is to lock off the flywheel, and I'm going to show you how I do that without putting the tool in, because just laziness really. I could take the starter motor out, but there's another way of doing it which I've never had any trouble with. So but I'm going to show you that in a minute. Before we go taking the bottom pulley off, this pulley down here, so the dark uneven light. Okay, so this pulley here, before you take that off, I'm gonna run you through, because this is quite an important part of it. I just want to run you through how I do it. What you don't want to do is go undoing that bolt, because you're going to lose all your timing, and it's going to be a lot more hassle than it's worth. Okay, locking off the crankshaft. So remove your bracket around your drive shaft bearing. Makes just life a bit easier when it comes to tightening stuff up. Now if you look up here, so I've got actually the ratchet on it. There's a blanking 10mm just next to the sensor, which is there. So if you take that out, looks like this, and then get your locking pin. That threads into the same hole, so then push it through and start threading it in. Now you can see where it's going to go to on the crankshaft. So when that's all the way threaded in, that crankshaft should be in contact with it, and the head of it, so the head of the locking tool should be all the way flush against the metal here, there, but also it should be sat up against the crankshaft in there. Right, now I'm going to show you how I hold the flywheel while I undo the bolt, the crankshaft pulley bolt, which is there. So with your locking pin down under the crank and your locking tools up on here on the two camshafts, this is how I hold the flywheel and undo the crankshaft pulley bolt, because they are extremely tight. So I use a gun, Milwaukee gun, always Milwaukee. So I get the gun on there. Right, gun on there. So gun's on there. And what I do, because we're undoing the bolt, is going to try and turn the flywheel, which is here, it's going to try and turn it anti-clockwise. So either a bar or a nice big screwdriver. Voila. You wanna get the screwdriver up in here, in the teeth of the flywheel, but up against the metal of the block. Okay, we need a slightly smaller screwdriver. Hold on, we're getting there. Oh, there's a bolt gone. All good things come to those who wait and everything. I'm gonna have to use one of the new ones. Ooh. Right, so in the teeth, hold it against the metal, and then blast the gun off. I'm just not gonna be able to video that, but I'm gonna try. Maybe it's time for a new battery. Let's try a new battery. Looks like it's going to be a bar. Okay. Whew. Bar it is. Looks like the screwdriver's staying, so it's not going anywhere. There is going to be some battle of the Arctic, and with the ice caps melting, these are going to be, it's going to be major shipping lines. So both strategically for national security of the US. Doesn't this worry you, Jennifer? No, I think it's a good idea. You think it's a good idea? I do. Now, I think it's going to take a little bit of nuance on how to get there. And this is why I think that the Prime Minister Keir Starmer should speak to Trump face to face and say, okay, hey, let's see that not only is this in the United States, national security, and just put your thing into the EU. The word that people are using is bullying. Because if you ask load of extensions, 21 mil on the end, big bar. So we roll. Call me Bertie Big Bar. Is that really the way the US president should behave? Well, the answer to that on both of those is absolutely not. But, here we are in 2026, so everything is still, comes to tone or the way he says things, we're way past it, okay? We're way past it. Okay, here we are. Crank pulley bolt is finally loose. I've had to use a torque multiplier to get it off, which, I've got some pretty powerful guns, pretty big bars, but the torque multiplier, well worth buying. It's about 60 quid, I think, but brilliant bit of kit. Now, so that you know, with a torque multiplier, it's 5 to 1, so 5, whatever you put in here, it will times the effort by 5 and put it onto the crank pulley bolt. You'll need this also for doing it up, but just so that you know, if you've got your drive shaft bearing housing out of the way, you with these torque multipliers with the silver spacers, if I can focus the camera, there you go. So a silver spacer between it. You can actually bolt these straight on. If not, and you can't, they do come with a little adapter plate and the right sockets and everything like that. So let's carry on. Now with the crank pulley off, we can start removing all the bolts around the outside of the timing housing. Worth getting a new seal there for the crankshaft pulley, but I'll update you once we're off. Just be warned with these, I made this mistake the first time. tucked up in here, in this hole, is a secret bolt. Don't forget the secret bolt. Okay, everything is off. The belt's off, the cover's off. The cover's off, the belt's off. Now, just undo the tensioner, pull it off. Obviously, make sure everything's locked up in the right place. The crankshaft locking bolt and the camshaft. While you're in here, just make sure you pull. There's a little plastic cover, which is here. This will just pull off, because there's another little wet belt which runs the oil pump in the sump. It comes off of the comes off of the pulley here, so the crank pulley, and goes onto here, which is your oil pump. Obviously, you need oil pumping around your engine, so what we use is always Ford. Everything's genuine Ford, and actually not much more expensive. Really not. A full cam belt kit with a water pump from Ford will cost you around £220 plus the VAT. And the other bits and bobs like this, they're really not expensive at all. Well worth getting. Right, I'm going to get this on and then I'll come back. Almost forgot. Before you start going back together, it's all good idea to have a clean up. So this is the actual gauze for the oil strainer, which I started the video with. Also, while you're in here, down here, that Allen key right there, take that out. That is a gauze for the oil filter feed. Turbo oil feed. That needs a clean. So I've just taken the little gauze out for the turbo oil feed. So the Allen key I just showed you. After you've taken that out, this is for the oil, for the turbo. And as you can see, cannot see in there whatsoever. Absolutely blocked. Oh dear. And this is how it should look. So you can see through there. There you go, look, you can see through it. Nice shiny, nice and clean. That's how it should be. Right, okay. Once your cam belt's on, you put your cam belt on. Put your tensioner on. You can do your tensioner up, 26 Newton meters. Pull the pin out, tensioner will tension everything for you. That's all good. Right, so after you've done that, you need to take care of this cover. Right, clean both surfaces up. Make sure they're nice and clean. Put your silicone before you put your silicone on. Bit of brake cleaner on a bit of rag. Give each surface a nice clean. Nice and clean is what you want. And then once the silicone goes on, put it on the cover without touching anything. You know, around here when you're putting the cover in. Line it up, bolt the cover on. Try and do this within sort of 10 or 15 minutes of when you apply the sealant to the cover. Try and get it on and bolted up within sort of, you know, a certain time frame. Not too stringent, but, you know, either or. Anyway, before you put the cover on, there's a seal. There's a seal that you want to buy that goes in here. This seal. Knock the old one off. Knock the old one out when the cover's off. Put this new one in once the cover's on. Nice and gentle, just until the two surfaces, until you can feel it nice and flat, level with each other there. Also, before you put the crankshaft pulley back in, because at this stage you can, so here, so between here, they don't fit these from factory, but you do have to fit them once the belt is being changed. That's a weird thing. Let me just quick trip to the bin, bear with me. Right, you have to fit what's called a friction washer. Now, this is a friction washer. It's absolutely wafer thin. Why? I don't know, but you have to do it. That goes on just before the crankshaft bolt. So again, nice and genuine. Brand new bolt, brand new friction washer. So, what you do and this is the order I'm going to show you. What you've got, if you remember at the beginning when I showed you the hole in the front top crank, wherever it is, so that hole at the top there, so you put your washer in, I'm going to show you. I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed, but we're going to try. So pop your washer in over this lip. Okay, right, washer is in. Then put your crankshaft in, your crankshaft pulley. Obviously careful not to damage the new seal you've put in, but also to make sure that that washer stays where it should be. Do this up, only finger tight, so you can still rotate the crankshaft pulley, just so everything stays in place, more than anything. Right, now at this stage, you need to, in the timing kit, you'll get a pin, a long pin. Now that long pin goes in where I said, so it goes in through the hole. So you need to line that hole up now, because you should be able to turn the pulley. And I can't, you're not going to be able to see this, but right, so turn that, oh, you might. Right, so there. Right, so maybe just off 12 o'clock, probably like 1 o'clock. And then that pin goes in, and that keeps that pulley, keeps the pulley in where it should be while you're tightening. Okay? Right, okay. We've come to the stage of torquing up the crankshaft bolt. Now here are the stages that you need. And what I'm going to do is just hold it there for a minute so you can screenshot this. Okay, so stage 1 is 25 newton meters. Stage 2, then do it up to 70 newton meters. At this stage, you fit the torque multiplier again. And then with the torque multiplier fitted, it now remains fitted until we're done. Right, so then you go 60 newton meters through the torque multiplier, and then 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, all the way through, all of those through the torque multiplier. Now, it's worth getting somebody to hold the crank like I showed earlier to stop it from turning. But whereas we did it this side, we're doing it up. So the crank's going to try and turn clockwise now. So now you want to put the screwdriver back in the teeth again and against the block, in the flywheel teeth against the block, the other side. Get somebody to hold it there nice and still while you do this procedure. I'll let you know when I'm done. Okay, with your crank pulley tightened up to the right spec, remove your timing tools. Now what I've done is I've removed all timing tools, and I've actually just put some of my own marks on here. It just saves refitting the tools, it just seems a bit silly. So just put some marks that need to line up on both camshafts. And then obviously on the crank we've got the little hole, which will line up in its slot. So now we just need to turn it over 2 times. If I can find that, bear with me. So we're going to turn it over 2 times. Alright, there's one. And I know that because the hole at the top is lining in with its little groove behind. As we come round to the second one, so when it nearly gets close, the little hole up there, put your crankshaft locking pin back in where it should be. There we go. Right, and then lock it off. Make sure that the hole is lined up with the hole behind. I can see that mine is. If you want to be sure, you can put the pin in. Put the pin back in there, in the pulley. Where are you? Right, there you go, pin's in. And now what we need to do is go up and check that our 2 cam marks that we've put on are where they should be. And they are. See the 2 lines? Now I've put these lines in a place where they won't get rubbed off when I rotate the engine, because nothing is in contact with them. And also I can just clean these back off, so all good. Right, now all you need to do is, fitment is reverse order. You're all good to go. Obviously, same thing with the sump. Clean the sump up nice. Give it a wipe over with some brake cleaner and some rag before the silicone goes on. And then you're all good to go. Back together. Thank you very much. Bye bye.